Hey, hi, how's it going? If you've been here before and you're back for more, I appreciate you to my very core. But if you're new here, welcome. My name is Becca and I tell your own personal paranormal experiences through short stories. If you have a personal paranormal experience that you'd like me to share and be featured on this channel, make sure to message me on Instagram. The link is in the bio. Without further ado, here is today's story. Ethan, who was 9 at the time, grew up with his family in West Virginia. Now, Ethan had a lot of friends growing up, but one friend in particular that they were completely inseparable was his friend named Matthew. Ethan and Matthew spent a lot of time together. While they were in school, they sat side by side, and even out of school, Ethan's parents would drop Ethan off at Matthew's house for sleepovers on the weekend. Ethan absolutely loved spending time with Matthew, but he also loved Matthew's house. Matthew's house was like 100 years old. There wasn't another house surrounding this house for like 5 miles. It was very peaceful and tranquil. So one weekend, Ethan asks his parents, hey, is it okay if I go and spend the night at Matthew's house? Matthew's dad's going to be there and we want to play some Xbox games. And Ethan's parents were like, you know what? Yeah, for sure. So Ethan packed his overnight bag, they loaded up the car, and they started driving into the country towards Matthew's house. Once they arrived at Matthew's house, Matthew opened the front door, greeted Ethan. Ethan said goodbye to his parents, and Ethan went inside with Matthew. Ethan and Matthew got situated in the living room. They grabbed their blankets, they grabbed their snacks, they grabbed their drinks, they got comfortable, and started playing some Xbox games. So at this point, a few hours have gone by. It's now 2 a.m. The boys are still awake playing video games, and Ethan's like, man, I'm really thirsty. So Matthew's like, just go to the kitchen and help yourself. So Ethan stands up from the couch and starts walking towards the kitchen when out of nowhere they hear this death-curdling scream. Both boys absolutely froze and just looked at each other to be like, what did we just hear? And then realized that the sound that they had heard was actually coming from within the house in the basement. So pretty freaked out, Matthew stands up and walks towards Ethan, and they both go down to the basement from where they heard this scream. But when they look around, there's nothing there. There's nothing out of place. There's nothing that they can really put their finger on as to what could potentially have made this sound. So they both, as perturbed as they were, went back to playing Xbox games and eventually went to bed for the night. The next morning, they told Matthew's dad about what they had heard. And Matthew's dad, instead of acting like he was surprised, kind of acted as if it was a normal occurrence within the home. Shocked at his dad's response, Matthew would then go on to ask, well, what else has happened in this house? Matthew's dad would say that he's heard this scream before, but nothing really ever has happened other than this scream. However, when they purchased the home, the realtor had a kind of sinister backstory to the house that they were living in. Matthew's dad would then go on to explain what the realtor had told him when he purchased his house. The previous owners of this home were a husband and wife, and the husband physically assaulted his wife on a continuous basis. One night, or one incident in particular, was when the wife actually called 911 for her injuries. When the police arrived, they found the husband standing outside on the front porch holding his shotgun. After a desperate plea from the local police department for him to drop his weapon, he did not comply and ended up taking his own life that night. When the police went inside to see the wife, who had called 911 for her injuries, she was honestly barely breathing. Shortly after they found the wife, paramedics arrived, retrieved the wife, took her to the hospital where she did make a full recovery. She ultimately ended up selling the home and moving out of the area, and even people that were extremely close with her in the surrounding area, such as neighbors, haven't heard from her since. So after hearing this, both Matthew and Ethan are kind of like taken back. They're like, it makes sense that we heard the scream, but I mean, she's still living, so it's kind of unrelatable. So they kind of just accepted the fact that the house has this dark history and someone did actually die here, but didn't relate it to what they had experienced that night before. But Matthew is so dead set on what he had heard that he convinced his dad to buy some security cameras that he would place in the basement from where they heard the scream so that if it ever happened again, maybe they could catch it on video. Fast forward a couple more months, and Ethan once again is spending the night at Matthew's house. And just like last time, they're all set up on the couch. They have their blankets, their snacks, their drinks. They're set up to play their Xbox games. When once again, a couple hours have gone by, it's now really early in the morning, about 1 or 2 o'clock, and they hear the scream again. Except this time, they also hear what sounds like something falling directly after this blood-curdling scream. So both Ethan and Matthew jump up from the couch. They run to the basement where they discover that Matthew's dad had stacked totes up along the back side of the basement wall, and they had violently been thrown from the wall and scattered all over the floor. When Matthew would go back to review the video camera footage, he would realize that these totes were in fact thrown from the wall onto the floor 20 seconds after the scream. After Matthew's dad saw the video footage, he ended up getting in contact with the local priest who would come in and do a blessing on the home. Following the blessing of the home, there has been absolutely no more paranormal activity, and still to this day, they cannot explain what they experienced. If you enjoyed today's recording, please leave a like or a comment. It's super rewarding. Wishing you nothing but a beautiful, blissful day. See you all on Thursday. Bye-bye.